Welcome to Quick Scare, where shadows dance with fear. I'm your guide through tales that'll haunt your dreams. Brace for a quick scare that sends shivers down your spine. I've been sitting on this chilling experience for a while now, and I think it's time to share the bone-chilling tale of my last ocean cruise. Buckle up, because this is one cruise that still haunts my nightmares. It all started innocently enough. My girlfriend and I decided to take a much-needed vacation, and after weeks of research, we settled on a luxurious ocean cruise liner that promised breathtaking views and unforgettable experiences. The ship, called Abyssal Voyager, was known for its opulence and top-notch service. Little did we know, this voyage would take a turn for the terrifying. We set sail on a clear summer day, the sun shining brightly as the ship sliced through the calm waters. The first few days were a dream: delicious food, breathtaking sunsets, and exciting shore excursions. But on the fourth night, things began to take a sinister turn. It all started with strange noises echoing through the ship. At first, I dismissed them as the usual creaks and groans of a massive vessel navigating the open sea. But as the night wore on, the sounds became more distinct, whispers that seemed to crawl out of the ship's belly. I chalked it up to an overactive imagination, but my unease grew. The next day, during a routine exploration of the ship, I stumbled upon a crew member who seemed unusually distressed. I'll call him Jake, for anonymity's sake. Jake was a tall, wiry man with sunken eyes that betrayed a deep-seated fear. He pulled me aside, his voice barely above a whisper, and told me about a series of mysterious disappearances among the crew. People were vanishing without a trace, leaving behind only their uniforms neatly folded in their cabins. The ship's staff was tight-lipped, and the passengers remained blissfully ignorant, soaking in the luxury above deck. Intrigued and a bit shaken, I decided to investigate further. I started poking around the crew quarters, trying to piece together the puzzle. That's when I stumbled upon an old, rusted door at the far end of a narrow corridor. The sign read, "Restricted access authorized personnel only." Curiosity getting the best of me, I managed to swipe a key card from a distracted crew member and, heart-pounding, opened the door. What I discovered behind that door would haunt me forever. The room was dimly lit, filled with rows of tanks containing grotesque sea creatures, monstrosities that seemed more suited to nightmares than reality. I realized that the cruise liner was conducting illegal experiments in the deep sea, capturing and breeding unknown marine life for some nefarious purpose. But the horror didn't end there. I found a series of tunnels leading deeper into the ship, hidden from the prying eyes of both passengers and crew. As I ventured further, I stumbled upon a ghastly sight, an underground laboratory where scientists were conducting bizarre rituals involving the sea creatures. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, and the walls seemed to pulsate with an unnatural glow. Suddenly, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned to see Jake, the crew member who had confided in me earlier. He looked at me with pleading eyes and said, "You weren't supposed to find this place. They'll never let you leave." Before I could react, the ground beneath me shook, and an otherworldly wail echoed through the tunnels. The sea creatures, now free from their tanks, slithered and slithered toward us with an eerie intelligence. Panic set in as Jake and I sprinted through the winding tunnels, pursued by the grotesque creatures. Just when I thought all was lost, we stumbled upon an emergency exit leading to the lower deck. Gasping for breath, we burst onto the deck, only to find chaos unfolding. The sea creatures had breached the upper levels, terrorizing passengers who had no idea what monstrous nightmare had been unleashed. In the midst of the pandemonium, the ship's alarm blared, and a garbled voice over the intercom announced that the ship was sinking. The passengers, still unaware of the horrors lurking below, stampeded toward the lifeboats. Jake and I joined the frantic crowd, desperate to escape the nightmare we had uncovered. As we reached the lifeboats, a shocking revelation unfolded. The ship wasn't sinking due to a mechanical failure. It was being pulled beneath the waves by an otherworldly force, the same force that had given life to the abominable creatures. In a heart-stopping twist, the abyssal voyager disappeared into the dark depths, leaving behind only the echoing screams of its passengers. As the last lifeboat bobbed on the surface, I couldn't help but wonder if we had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death. So here I am, typing this out as a warning to all those planning an ocean cruise. Beware the allure of luxury liners, for beneath the sparkling surface lies the potential for unimaginable horrors. And who knows, your dream vacation might turn into a nightmare voyage to the abyss. Stay safe out there, fellow Redditors, and may you never encounter the horrors that lurk in the depths of the ocean. I've been a sailor for most of my life, and I've seen some weird stuff out on the open sea. But nothing, I mean nothing, comes close to the bone-chilling experience I had a few years ago. It still haunts me to this day, and I need to share it with you all. It was a cold, misty night in the North Atlantic. I was on a cargo ship, a vessel that felt more like a floating fortress than a boat. We were hauling a load of goods from Europe to North America, and everything seemed routine until we hit the infamous Bermuda Triangle. Yeah, I know it sounds like a bunch of hogwash, but hear me out. The sea was eerily calm that night, like it was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The crew was on edge, whispering about the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle, but we shrugged it off as sailor superstition. Little did we know, the real horror was lurking beneath us. I was on the night shift, staring out into the inky blackness of the ocean. The ship's engines hummed in the background, and the only sound that broke the silence was the gentle lapping of the water against the hull. It was so quiet, you could hear your own heartbeat. That's when I heard it. A low, guttural sound like a distant growl echoing from the abyss below. I brushed it off as my imagination playing tricks on me, but the growl persisted, growing louder and more ominous. It was as if the ocean itself was alive and angry. I radioed the bridge to see if they were hearing the same thing, but the response was static. The ship's communications were dead. Panic set in as the growl intensified, vibrating through the metal of the ship. The crew gathered on the deck, fear etched on every face. Then, the water around us started to churn. Massive waves rose out of nowhere, slamming into the ship with a force that should have sent us to the ocean floor. I clung to the railing, praying for it to stop, but the waves only grew larger. As the chaos unfolded, a colossal shadow emerged beneath the surface, slowly revealing itself. It was a creature, a monstrous leviathan with tentacles that reached towards the sky. The growl was now a deafening roar, emanating from this otherworldly beast. The crew scrambled, desperately trying to launch lifeboats, but the creature's tentacles snaked around the ship, crushing it in its grasp. I watched in horror as the once mighty vessel was reduced to debris. The ocean, once calm, became a swirling maelstrom of destruction. And then, in the midst of the chaos, the creature's eye, the size of a car, locked onto me. Its gaze pierced through the darkness, sending shivers down my spine. I felt like prey being hunted by an ancient predator. The abyssal creature's roar echoed in my mind, driving me to the brink of madness. But here comes the twist, Reddit. As the creature's tentacles tightened around me, I blacked out. I woke up on a deserted island, the wreckage of the ship nowhere in sight. I was alone, with nothing but the haunting memory of that monstrous entity. To this day, I don't know if it was a hallucination, a nightmare brought to life by the Bermuda Triangle, or something else entirely. But one thing's for sure, I've never looked at the ocean the same way again. The abyssal whispers still echo in my mind, a constant reminder that some horrors are better left undiscovered. If you've survived the frights of Quick Scare, Show some love by liking, commenting your favorite chilling moment, and subscribing for your regular dose of fear. Stay brave until we meet again.